Okay, this is the last class of the course. Because we pulled back the subject of the major mudra, Sambhavi Mudra, to lesson 37, we are left with the pranayama and the conclusion. So first of all, are there any questions about anything you learned during this course, or any other questions in general?
Why is it important to do yoga with other people?
With other people?
I mean, why? Is it better to do yoga with other people, or is yoga an individual practice?
Yeah, interesting question. I don't think I've ever had such a question. But it's a very valid question. I think yoga is an individual thing. And it works best when you practice on your own. But the thing is, in the past, in the ancient tradition, yoga was transferred, conveyed to a disciple by a disciple living with the yogi, somewhere secluded in a forest or on the mountain. The disciple would live with the yogi for several years, and probably served the yogi by maybe keeping the hut clean, maybe preparing food, doing chores, serving. And the yogi, during those years, would share all his knowledge about yoga with the disciple. So that's a long time ago. And maybe there are still places in India, in Nepal, in the Himalayas, where still this tradition is being followed. But the way to learn something is usually in a class. And of course, especially since Corona, many people look for new things online. But offline, you usually go to a class, and the class consists of multiple people. But that is only to learn what you can then integrate into your life and can practice at home. Being in a class is necessary to learn, because yoga is a very extensive science that if studied in its entirety, takes indeed years. But the most important is the practice on your own. And the reason for that is, when you're on your own, free from distractions, you connect with your inner self. When you're on your own, you're more contemplative. And one of the main goals of yoga is developing contemplative power. When you're on your own, you're not distracted by the fear to not be perfect in your poses. or what other people might think of your appearance, of how you do the poses, or how you're engaging, and you're free when you're on your own. So the experience is much deeper. And that's actually crucial for the transformation, for the developments that yoga offers, because it's just much more efficient and much deeper when practicing on your own. The difficulty with that is discipline. We live in a high-paced world where people have many activities, and often just having a full-time job robs you of all the time that you have, because when you're not at work, you're busy recovering, feeding yourself, resting, and a little bit of entertainment maybe in the weekend. So it's a little bit hard to have the discipline, but I think the discipline to practice yoga comes naturally when you feel, when you experience how yoga affects you. It went with me like that when I started practicing yoga. I started practicing yoga not knowing in the first place that it was yoga that we were doing. We were playing basketball. The coach, after the session, told us to sit down. We were all sweaty and tired. He told us to sit down, and he told us to do some, at that time we thought a little bit unusual things, because we were used to move whenever exercising. Even when stretching, warming up, cooling down, you're bouncing, you're moving. But he told us not to move. He said, take on the posture, stop moving, and maintain the posture. Just keep breathing and maintain the posture. And I just immediately, I felt the sense of wellness that it gave my tired body. And I was a teenager, in my late teens at that time. Teenagers usually are quite in turmoil, mentally also, still looking for their ways in life and full of insecurities and so on. And that one session that maybe lasted only 10 minutes gave me such physically gave me a sense of wellness, but also mentally. It made me calm. And after taking a shower, I went to the library, got a book, and started practicing that very evening. And I started practicing every evening. But then there is the discipline issue. There are times that you rather watch TV or eat some snacks and go to sleep without yoga. And you feel a little bit conflicted, but you're only human, so you just give in to your laziness sometimes. Only to wake up the next morning feeling something is lacking. Because you don't feel. When I started practicing yoga, I practiced every night before going to sleep. I would take out my woolen blanket at 9:30, practice until 10:30, and after the last asana, immediately lie on bed. And sometimes I would wake up in the morning in Savasana, still in the same posture that I would start my sleep in. So calm, and I would just wake up, feeling so invigorated, so like roaring like a lion, so to speak, so refreshed and feeling so amazingly good. And those days that you permit yourself not to practice, because I practiced in the evening, the next morning I just wouldn't feel the same. And that naturally made me determined to not skip that very day my practice in the evening, and the next evening, and the next evening. So if you practice 5-6 days a week, that is a lot. You can permit yourself to one day skip for whatever reason, because it's weekend or because it's not important. I think it's helpful that when you feel different because you haven't practiced, that it just reminds you of the need and the importance of regular practice. And still, you know, life is full of events. Sometimes you have important things to take care of, family affairs, conflicts, change of job, or maybe even changing house, changing home, changing country where you live, or city. Sometimes you have big things to take care of that don't allow you to stick to your routine. And you just become distracted a bit from your regular yoga practice. But in my life, in the 40 years that I practiced yoga, there have been many such periods. But every time when the dust settles down, I just naturally gravitate towards my yoga practice. Whenever the calm sets in, the routine is possible again. And it just always naturally becomes part of my daily life. These days I practice in the morning after walking the dogs, as opposed to practicing in the evening. But you always find your way back to your practice, because you become a bit addicted to the good feeling that yoga provides. So the answer to your question is it's best to practice alone, but you're in a class with other people to learn, because that is how yoga is conveyed these days in a classical situation, in the classroom. You have other questions? Yeah. So I hope that this course has allowed you to get a better idea of what yoga really is about the depth that many yoga practices are missing, but also the practicality of it. The word yoga for many people is a concept, a rather superficial concept. For some people it's about being in shape, dieting, losing weight. For some people it's about spirituality. But if you have done a couple of yoga classes here and there, you find that with modern yoga, it's hard to find a yoga class that is done in the traditional way, in the way that it actually leads to harmony, sattva, which can only happen in stillness, physically as well as in the surroundings. Modern yoga is always with music and a teacher that constantly talks about exercises and the technicalities, the physical aspects and benefits and what have you. And even during the meditation they keep talking. And it's for those people who dig a little bit deeper because they become intrigued or interested in a little bit more about yoga. They bump into a wall of dogma and mystery, and it's very difficult to shed light on that. People are wandering in the darkness, looking for truth. And throughout the years, many people have come to our courses who have been on the path of yoga for years, have tried many different kinds of classes and teachers and different kinds of yoga, And when they find our course, I've heard many times people saying, finally I find answers to my questions. The difference with your class is that in other classes, I often, at the end of the class, have more questions than answers. And that is because of the dogma and the mystery that yoga is surrounded by. And teachers who have learned yoga but have not been properly initiated into yoga, they just say things that they heard from their teacher. Just repeat them without actually knowing what it means. Or things that they've read in a book or in the lesson material about yoga. And the reason why mystery and dogma exists around yoga is out of ignorance. Because yoga, there's nothing mysterious or dogmatic about yoga. If you have the right insights, if you have the right information, and that is, these days there's so many yoga teachers and there's so much information on the internet. It's very hard to find. It's like a forest. You can't see the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest. People are just lost in the jungle and it's very hard to find their way. But it's a process. And eventually, after some years of experimenting and trying out this and that, people often then end up coming across something genuine where they find their answers to all the questions. The reason why there is mystery and dogma is because first, yoga is very ancient. It's as old as mankind becoming conscious, developing consciousness. As old as the day that people developed consciousness and started asking questions about themselves, the environment, the universe, the weather, etc. And that evolved, that developed into a very deep science about life. And that is what yoga really means. Yoga means life, but life in a different way. Life lived consciously. And the reason why there is dogma and mystery is because yoga has been documented in ancient times by people who functioned like ancient people. And ancient people were not educated. Education is something of the past couple of 100 years. People were not educated, so they were much more intuitive, much more sensitive. And they lacked intellectual power. They lacked the power of intellect, rationality. The way ancient people communicated was through symbolism. And that is what you read in the ancient books, including the Bible. All ancient books are written in symbolical language. And when you don't understand that, you end up with a lot of mystery and dogma. And the worst thing about it is that when modern people take the symbolical language literal, it can lead to extremism that you can find in religious circles. The extremism that you find in religious circles is based on an inability to understand the subtle meaning behind the fiery speeches, behind the symbolical language. So, yoga, using the word yoga often makes me feel some resistance, because many people see it as a concept, an exercise. But what it really is, the yoga is a science of life. if it is taught and learned correctly, as it was intended thousands of years ago. And that is the most marvelous thing that people do not realize about yoga, is that it is not in class that you benefit from your yoga. It is in daily life. Because it integrates into daily life. It changes how you perceive things, because your consciousness awakens and from that moment on continuously expands. So you become much more dynamic in the way that you look at yourself and the world, always discovering new things that other people fail to see. And you develop something that is called mindfulness. You start doing things with much greater, with intention and much greater focus and intensity. And as a result, the outcome of what you do, the results of what you do, the quality of what you do is much better than it was before. Because you develop the power of focus, one-pointed focus. So it completely changes the way that you function in daily life, in personal relationships, at home, in the family, with friends, at work. Everything is influenced by it. That's something that's an aspect of yoga that most people just don't realize. So the word yoga really means life. But life lived consciously. Because that is what yoga, the framework of yoga, the system of yoga is developed in such a way. It starts at the very basic condition that the human being is in, unconditioned and ignorant. And it is designed in such a way, it's a very systematic way, if followed appropriately, that it leads to complete transformation of the human being. Not only physically, but especially mentally and spiritually. That the physical body becomes in better shape, in better condition, that is just a nice side effect. While for many people that is the main issue, it is just a nice side effect. Much more important is how it changes the mind, the intellect, and more importantly, the spiritual aspect of it. With many people think practice of spirituality, that is a luxury. That's for people who have lots of time and money and what have you. No, it's not. Because spirituality may sound superficial or a luxury, but spirituality is inherently linked with all the wonderful qualities that a human being can possess. And it starts with consciousness, but it also involves developing empathy, compassion, and love for the environment, for whatever it is that we live with in this world. Appreciation. So it has huge implications, a huge impact on how we function. And that is the real value of yoga, but it only works like that if we stick to the ancient tradition where yoga was developed. And the tragedy is that most modern yoga classes do not lead to that development. And that sounds a bit negative. Many people who have discovered yoga and its value, they're kind of pessimistic and negative about, since yoga became commercially since yoga has been commercialized and popularized, which really started at the end of the late 1990s, it was widely spread. Everybody became interested. Before that, it was kind of obscure, and only eccentric people, kind of hippies or new age people, were the kind of people that engaged in the practice of yoga. With the popularization and commercialization, if you look at it in a negative way, yoga has been diminished, devalued, diluted enormously. But if you look at it in a positive way, it has opened the door to many more people, to the masses of people who maybe start with a yoga class that is not leading to transformation and all the wonderful benefits that yoga has to offer, but it's only a starting place. And it opens the door for people to move up the ladder because they become curious. They may start looking for more information, for other teachers that have a little bit more to add and answer their questions. It means that there are a lot of people finding their way into yoga who otherwise would never have had an interest. So on the surface it may look as a negative that it has been commercialized and popularized. On the other hand, on a deeper level, it has just opened the door to a lot more people being able to benefit from it. But it's just, there is a process. They start with yoga classes that are rather physical and superficial, but then they look for more depth and more insight, and they automatically find their way through time to more genuine traditional yoga. Yeah. So there's no need to be too negative about all that. Are you interested in teaching yoga? No? You're practicing with your dad, but for the rest, you're not really?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Because we're not so busy. Maybe like once every 2 weeks. I just try to practice myself.
Yeah.
Maybe watching YouTube.
Right.
Just maybe it's closer to stretching, I think, at this stage. But I'm content with what I can do right now. So.
Stretching is nothing wrong with stretching. If you, many of the yoga postures are stretches. If you do them in the yoga way, it's yoga. It leads to physically strengthening, but it leads to harmony. That is also when you practice on your own and you stay put in a posture, you automatically start hearing nada. You automatically become contemplative. That is the power of asana or stretching if you do it in the yoga way, meaning actively engaging but standing still. So yeah.
I'm really interested in studying psychology nowadays.
Okay.
Yeah, so psychoanalytics. So I can become almost like a therapist, a psychiatrist.
Nice.
But then hopefully I could incorporate yoga with psychiatric technique because it's done in a space, right? A space setting.
Right.
And a lot of the psychoanalysis uses the movement. I think a lot of yoga, from this course I learned that a lot of yoga philosophy coincides with a lot of psychology.
Yeah,
materials.
absolutely.
Very scientific, I learned. So I'm trying to learn more So I can apply to my, I don't know, future coaching or future teaching. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah, nice development.
Yeah.
What are you doing currently for a job?
So it's a family-owned business. It comes down from my grandparents.
Okay.
And it's in the commercial art business, which is like movie and dramas. So we make those like, sets required in a studio for those like, movies and dramas.
Okay.
So we design the sets, we build the sets, we rent the space. So that's like a family business for over 30 years.
Wow.
And I got just started like, since last year. Yeah, it's been fun. It can be a little stressful because it's a family business, and because I'm still like relatively young compared to other employees, and that imposes on me a lot of responsibility that I have not felt before. So I feel I'm trying to exercise more. I'm trying to be more mindful, more mentally stable. In order to handle the pressure of the job. But yeah, I think the yoga is really fundamental in that.
Right.
I'm trying to encourage like, doing yoga, hopefully as a corporate culture, because like I don't think anyone in my company has done yoga before or anything similar to that, because they're mostly in their like 40s, 50s, 60s, and the hardworking people, they barely have any time.
Right.
So hopefully as a corporate welfare program, we can incorporate yoga. I think that would be great.
Yeah. You have work laid out for you.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. But you want to switch to more therapeutic work?
Hopefully I can do both simultaneously.
Right.
It's more of a personal interest to study for now, psychology and yoga.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like I don't know, it could be my leisure or part-time activity, which I enjoy very much.
Right. Is that a development that started as a result of you practicing yoga? Right.
Yes, definitely. It's all connected. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. Right. And that's how you found Magic Pond.
Yes, I was. It's amazing. Who would have thought? So are you going to reopen the course?
Yeah.
For this?
Yeah. Halfway in July, I'm going to put out an event on Facebook, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on Instagram, or at least focusing means just basically spend more money, so that it's more widely spread. What I hear from many yoga teachers is that these days there are just too many yoga programs, and people just don't know anymore what to choose, where to go. But yeah, I just need to draw a little bit more attention. In the past it was easy. I always had classes with between 20 and 30 students. Before Facebook, it was just an advertisement in the Korea Herald, Korea Times, a local magazine in Itaewon, or the Seoul Classifieds or something. And later, of course, Facebook, 2007, Facebook. 2008 or so, I think I started with a Facebook page, and that worked very well. Until 3 years ago, suddenly, it didn't work anymore. And it took me 2 years to find out. It's because you just need to spend more money to get it spread. You cannot promote with $3 or $5 anymore, which in the past worked perfect. I reached the whole geographic location of South Korea, and when it would overflow, I would then get reactions from Philippines, from Indonesia, Malaysia. And that didn't happen in the past couple of years. And the last time, I'm a little bit old school, so a little bit stubborn. People had already told me you should focus more on Instagram, but I kept focusing on, I put the most promotion money into Facebook, and it started going abroad again, which was an indication for me that it works. You just need to spend more money. So this time I'm determined to just spend more on Instagram and see how it works. And if that doesn't work, I think I should retire. I don't know.
Do you plan to like go not this 3 months course, but like individual sessions, like one class, or like 4 weeks class, or shorter term?
You know, again, I'm an old school yogi. What I have is a system that really works. And I find it very hard to cut it up into sections, to create short-term courses. So maybe that's a limitation that I have.
Yeah, I feel like this course, it's beneficial once you get the taste of it, because it takes a little time to get used to it. Because nobody's like used to this type of yoga setting, but I think it takes like 3 or 4 sessions to get used to it and to really feel the benefits. But people feel a little because people have such a high expectation, or they make such a quick judgment based on the advertisement phrases.
Yeah.
And when people choose to make 3 to 4 months commitment, I think people have a much higher, they want to know what it would be like. That's why all the promotion pages are so full of images, like so easy to, or not easy, but so provocative. Like they're provocative, very strong words, because that helps people make a decision for long commitments.
Right.
Also, people just want to try it out and see how it goes and how it applies to them. That's why so many people show up at the workshop thing. When you promoted the workshop, there are 20 more people, right? So I think people want to give it a try on a short-term basis. Because like looking at Haley and I forgot her name.
Sujong?
Sujong. Because they've taken this course more than one time, right? Yeah, because I think once you get to know the Magic Pond, I think it's easier to continue taking the course.
Yeah.
For a lot of people who have never experienced this before, I think this could be that reason, just to give them a lower barrier to give it a try.
Right. Yeah, but something inherently changed because that barrier didn't exist in the past. Somehow I lost connection with what's going on in society, I think.
Largely, I think people are more stringent now. The economy is not well. People are spending less money, I think, on the leisure.
Yeah, you hear that a lot too. Yeah. But my courses are very cheap compared to other yoga courses. But people have sometimes told me that if it's so cheap, then people think the quality must not be good because it's too cheap. They rather do something that is 3 times more expensive. That's a little bit, but that for me that's not a reason to increase the price, because my motivation has always been it has to be accessible to anybody who wants to learn without,
I think if you change the title of this course into not like you're becoming a yoga training, yoga instructor program, but more like 3 to 4 months life-changing
transformational
experience or like that, because people who want to take yoga, those training courses, they want to become a professional yoga instructor, right? Those are the targets.
Yeah, no. Throughout all those years that I've taught yoga, if you ask, 90% of the students is not interested in becoming a teacher.
Yeah. Those are your targets, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's the highly educated people that are really interested in meaning in life.
yes.
They're looking for answers and things. It's those kind of people that have always come to the courses, as opposed to the other expensive courses. They're really designed to turn people into teachers with a very they are trained like in the army, like robots. They all become uniform teachers that will say the same things and talk in the same tone of voice, and that is exactly what yoga is not about.
Yeah, exactly.
But those courses are attended by lowly educated people who are looking for a way to make some money in life using their body. In the past it would be taekwondo, and then it became belly dance, and then whatever is the fashion, they will do something like that, become an instructor, and get find some employment in that direction. But that's always been in contrast with the people that come to my classes.
Yeah. So I think people like me and other people don't want to become not necessarily yoga instructors.
Yeah.
But they're just interested in life in general. I think there are a lot of people out there, but it's just hard to reach them. I think one, they're not on social media much, because I quit social media recently.
Yeah.
So it's hard to actually meet the advertisement with either Instagram or Facebook. So it's really a word of mouth. So I think you could, because throughout my experience with this course is that I'm not trained to become a yoga instructor. I'm more of a kind of familiar with yoga philosophy. I learned to meditate, look into myself, because this is like the trend. A lot of people are looking for this experience. For sure, there are a lot of new businesses trying to target an audience like me, and it's quite expensive too. People still sign up, but it's just a way to figure out which words or phrases could appeal to people like me. Because I got interested in this course because of my friend Albert.
Right.
And I know he doesn't want to become a yoga instructor, so I knew this course is not meant to be like that. But just looking at the advertisement on Facebook, people get the sense that this is actually one of those yoga training courses. So they just, in their mind, they compare this course to other yoga training courses, and they make a comparison when it's not, when it's like totally different.
Right.
So I think you should become another category yourself. It's just like other self-improvement courses out there. I think that then you can be very, very much competitive. That's just my analysis.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. All right, let's keep it at this. Let's take a short break.